So in your questionnaire, you said every now and then the BBC runs into a storm of criticism. And of course, just this weekend, you had an early taste of what that might look like when Gary Lineker signed a letter criticising the government's refugee policy. We're going to talk a lot more about impartiality and social media when some of my colleagues speak to you later. But do you think Gary Lineker's broken the BBC's new social media guidelines or not?
Well, let me say, I don't think it was very helpful. I don't think it's very helpful either for Gary Lineker or for the BBC or indeed for the cause which he supports, because what happens, as we've seen, is that it becomes a story of the BBC and Gary Lineker, another turn of that particular wheel. So I don't think that's terribly helpful. The context is that John Hardy created a new set of social media rules to govern the behaviour of the social media behaviour of non-news presenters. If I could just clear up, I think a slight misunderstanding. The John Hardy rules, remember the BBC has to balance freedom of expression, the right to have your opinion, and people have a right to say what they feel and believe, and especially if there are things that you don't agree with. I think the point about freedom of expression is that it should be allowed to do so. The social media rules in some ways loosened it. It allowed news presenters, it's very clear, you cannot, but non-news presenters are free to express their opinions. But there are some guidance, and that's to do with the manner, the civility of it, and the way, and not to make ad hominem attacks. So, as far as I'm aware, the signing of the letter did not breach those guidelines. I do think, however, the more recent tweet that Mr. Lineker, in which he identified some two politicians, does, on the face of it, seem to breach those particular guidelines of public. I'm not sure how egregious it is, but it does. And I would imagine that the BBC is now looking into that and considering its response.